Hello, my friends. I'm Sam Hardesty, a certified life coach, and welcome to the Authentic Entrepreneur Podcast. Hey, what's up, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning into another episode here. I am so excited to have our guest speaker today, which is Cassie. She is the founder of Blush Bloom Boudoir in Cleveland, Glamour. And this conversation you're about to hear, it's going to be pretty juicy. I'm really excited for all the topics that we spoke into. And I don't know, you'll just have to hear it for yourself. So Cassie, like I said before, the founder of Blush Bloom Boudoir in Cleveland Glamour, is a renowned body-positive boudoir, glamour, and branding photographer with a deep-seated passion for empowering women through her distinct photography experiences. So she extends her expertise in body image and confidence coaching, further enriching women's lives by organizing and hosting community self-care events at her downtown Cleveland studio. So with a bachelor's in education in biology, accompanied with a secondary specialization in human psychology. Yeah, I know, you never would have assumed a boudoir photographer would have those things. Cassie's journey to empowerment photographer is serendipitous. So her personal battles include a life-changing period on dialysis from the age of 21 to 23 and a subsequent kidney transplant, propelling her into her healing journey. So from there, that's where she created her dream career, integrating her academic prowess and with her passion. So she ensures that her community and clients attain profound transformative experiences, but beyond the superficial photos and social gatherings. So Cassie's vibrance stems from her ability to connect deeply with others, guiding women toward their rejuvenating way of living. So she firmly believes in the ripple effect of empowering women, recognizing its significance for both the present and future generations. On a personal note, Cassie is a devoted wife and a doting mother of 5 cats, embracing her disabilities and neurodivergence as unique strengths. So she loves indulging in her favorite shows, savoring in all of the culinary delights, and has a special fondness for tacos. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you reach out to her later on. There in the description is all of her contact information, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks so much. All right. Hey, Cassie, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited about our chat today. I have so many juicy questions for you.
Okay, I'm excited.
All right. So I want to open up the floor first. Tell us more about you, who you are, what you do, how you got into it all.
Okay, so I am a women's empowerment photographer. So I specialize in boudoir, glamour, branding, and maternity. I got into this by total accident and found out that it was absolutely my life's purpose. So I am actually classically trained university as a biologist and a psychologist. And I fell into photography by accident after quite a long medical journey that kind of ruled out any sort of medical career. Um, and when I found it, I honestly just fell in love with it, and I've been doing it ever since. I loved the transformation that it makes in women's lives, and specifically the transformation that me as a person mixing my knowledge of the body, the brain, and empowerment and women's journeys in general, just how I mix all of that together in a cocktail and help women actually change their lives. So I've been doing this for 8 years now, and I am in my beautiful studio today. And I just love what I do. So that's me. I own Blush Bloom Boudoir and Cleveland Glamour, and my studio is in downtown. And at the heart of it, I'm a photographer, but more than that, I'm a alternative therapist, and your best friend and hype girl and cheerleader and everything in between.
Very exciting. I'm so excited to just be able to tap into so many more things that you do and everything. Tell everyone else about it. So, okay, question.
Yes.
What is the weirdest thing you've given someone as a gift or received?
The weirdest thing I've given someone as a gift, or the probably more the weirdest thing I've received. Um,
Mhm.
when I was when I was younger and I was in uh, German class. I'm also fluent in German. And I was in German class when I was younger, and every year we did the white elephant gift exchange. And I guess this is actually a two for one because for the white elephant gift exchange, if you don't know what a white elephant gift exchange is, it's where you bring just like the worst possible gift you can bring. Um, and so
Mhm.
I was like, there was not very as many girls in my class as there was guys, so I felt like my chances were pretty good. And I actually brought a ton of feminine products in a box. I brought tampons, pads, like everything you can think of in a box. It was just like if a girl would have got it, she would have been so excited, but it would have been the weirdest gift she ever got. But a guy got it, so it was more hilarious.
Oh no.
And I got the weirdest gift I've ever gotten is this ugly, horrible, but also my favorite thing now. Go, I can't think of the word. It's not a swan. Geese,
Uh,
goose lamp. I was like, it's not a swan, it's the other one. A goose lamp. I have a
what?
goose lamp. It's the ugliest thing, but like now it's my goosey lamp. And it's literally like just an old, like probably your great great grandma would have had this lamp, and it's sitting at our camp spot at the lake. But it's literally a lamp, like with the old gooses, like they dress up in the front yard with all the the hat and the coats, and they've
Like the
got like their
gnomes?
Christmas gear. Yeah, but people do it with geese. It's literally a goose
Oh.
statue. Oh my gosh, you'll have to like watch when you drive down the road. Like people have these goose statues in the front of their yards, and they dress them up for the holidays. Typically like someone's great grandpa, like great grandma or great grandpa has this like statue, but this is painted on the lamp. So it's like a dressed up goose that you would have in your front yard, but it's painted on a lamp. It's the weirdest gift I've ever gotten, but I still have it because
Oh my
it's like my
gosh.
favorite thing because it's so funny. So it's sitting down at
That
our
is
at our lake place.
that's hysterical. No, like, okay, I'm curious, so how did the guy react to all the tampons and pads?
He was like highly confused first because he's like, this is like not like it's a bad gift, but it's not the worst gift, but like it's functional, but not for me. And so, and
Yeah.
then he's like pulling them out, and he's like, what do you do with these? And I'm like,
Oh,
a,
no.
a, a typical man, like, and these are high school boys too, because this was high school German. So
Oh
but he
gosh,
like pulls
yeah.
out like his little stash of tampons and pads, and he's like, I don't even know what you do with these. And he's like looking at the tampon, and he's like,
Oh my gosh.
and then he's like,
That's
well,
hysterical.
I guess I'm giving these to my sister. So
Hey, I'm
it
sure
was
she'd appreciate them. So,
you know
that's
what,
great.
she was probably set for a little while.
Yeah. I love that. I remember so we did white elephant Christmas gifts too for my on my dad's side of the family. This was a few years ago and I remember just being at the store and I found like the most like silly like it's a stupid mug. And I was like, this is the gift. And so it essentially said when shit happens, but the shit wasn't the word shit, it was the turd emoji. So it was like when poop happens, right? When shit happens. So we go around and I put other stuff in with it, you know. And it goes around because it's not like you just pick out a gift, you don't know what you're gonna get, right? So my grandmother got it.
And I'm like, "Oh, no, grandma." Like, because there's so many of us young kids, like, exactly to your same situation. We're like, "Yeah, kids for sure are gonna get it." Grandma gets it. She pulls it up, and then she's like, "When something happens, I don't know, when poop happens, I don't get it." And I'm like, "Oh, God bless." I'm, like, so thankful that she's out of it, like, so she didn't know, like, the whole thing of it. But,
She didn't
yeah,
get
so
it.
that was yeah, that was something that we gifted, and we're like, that kinda went a little sideways, but it was good, so similar things, that's funny. Okay, changing gears here for a hot second. What does living authentically mean to you?
So I have really been exploring this the last couple of years, especially. And living authentically to me used to mean something very different. It kind of just used to mean like not necessarily lying about who I was, like just kind of showing up as people expected me to show up and not being completely against my truth, but masking a lot of it and really just like putting on a very not a lie, but just like a curtain. Like it was not an authentic, real, true, authentic version of myself, but it wasn't necessarily a lie. And so that's kind of what I had thought was living authentically. But these days, I've like really been exploring this. And to me, these days, it's showing up with just the energy that I have and knowing that regardless of what that energy is, it's not up to me to worry about other people's feelings about it. I'm still supposed to show up as like who I am for that day, the best of who I am for that day, even if it's less than the best that I was yesterday or the best that I will be tomorrow. Showing up as how I feel that day and who I am that day, and just allowing people to meet me where I am if they want to, and not meet me where I am if they don't want to. So, really just showing up as myself on a daily basis with whatever I have. And more specifically than that is I have really unmasked my neurospiciness the last couple of years. I really used to try to hide it. Like I used to try to like just pretend that I was not ADHD autistic and that I wasn't disabled and that I was not someone who also struggled. I really tried to hide my struggles and pretend that I was pretty much totally normal and then call that authentic, but it really wasn't. So authenticity to me is just actually showing up as who you are on a daily basis and not hiding things about yourself for others' benefit.
Mm, mhm. I love that. I love that definition. So, for those that don't know, what is boudoir and how in the hell did you get involved into that?
Yeah, yeah. So Boudoir is where I actually really started my business. Um, I for about 6 months, like a very, very short 6 months, I was shooting pretty much everything you could think of, the typical just like all over the board photographer, a jack of all trades. I was shooting all of the things, weddings, babies, engagements, whatever. Um, and one day, my sisters, I have three sisters, and I'm the oldest of three. I'm the oldest of four sisters. So my three sisters were like, Cassie, so you're a photographer now. And we want to do boudoir for Christmas for our husbands. And I was like, first of all, what is that? And they were like, look at these photos on Pinterest. And it became very clear to me at that point, my definition of boudoir was sure, bring your underwear and come to mom's house. We'll figure it out. Because that's really what the definition of boudoir was to me at that point, just sexy lingerie photography essentially. And
Mhm.
in that time of my career, it was very much like for your husband, not necessarily for yourself. It was really for the person you were giving it to. So I started out with just, it was actually December of 2016. And my sisters all came over to my mom's house. My childhood bedroom had just been like redecorated as I had moved out like the year before. So it was nice and it was new and more adult. Um, so I did it in my childhood bedroom with my three sisters, and I did their photos, sexy lingerie photography for their husbands. And
Mhm.
it was very run of the mill. Like it was my first time. It was very easy. I loved it. It was so much fun. I shot all 4 in the same day. We added my best friend, so it was my 3 sisters and my best friend for the first time that I ever did it, and the photos came out totally fine. They were, they were not the absolute most, they're nothing like what I shoot today. But the thing that really hooked me was my one sister. She got her photos back and she calls me. I sent them all, I got fancy. I sent them a gallery of photos and whatever. And my one sister calls me and she is just like sobbing. She's crying. And I was like, oh my God, it's okay. I've never done this before. We'll do it again. They're not that bad, I'm sure. And she's like, no, 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 no. And she's just sobbing. And I'm like, listen, what is wrong with you? And she's like, I never knew I was that beautiful. I was like, wait, what? You didn't know you were that beautiful? And she's, everybody's got one. She's the pretty sister. We all have one that society decides that one's the prettiest. And so she was my pretty sister and she's just sobbing and she's like, these are so beautiful. I had no idea I was this beautiful. I'm going to print these out. I'm going to put them on my mirror. I'm going to look at them every day. And I am not going to allow Sydney to grow up this way. Sydney's my niece. Um, and so I saw that huge change just like instantly from one day of not even that amazing photos. Just really like the photo shoot was about her. We may have done it for, her husband, but the photo shoot was about her. And just that change that I saw in her so quickly was like, ooh, if I can do this for my own sisters, what could I do for strangers? And so today, my definition of boudoir is very different. It is really a revolution of loving yourself regardless of what your body looks like. These photos are, in my opinion, a form of an alternate form of therapy. I naturally, as a person who is involved in mental health, I have a therapist myself. And she has told me many times there's no possible way that I could ever sit in this chair and make the same kind of impact that you do. I'm not a therapist, but when you are given just the freedom to strip down your insecurities, really take a look at what your body looks like, and see yourself through the eyes of someone who's completely unbiased, you really see a completely different person than you see when you look in the mirror. And boudoir is freedom. It's transformation. It's a perspective shift. And it is an experience that really just kind of like shocks you out of this brain curtain you've had for a long time. We all look through the brain curtain on a daily basis, our biases, our self-hate. When we're looking in the mirror, we're not really looking, we're just seeing through a curtain. And boudoir and just empowerment photography in general pulls back that curtain to allow you to really see yourself. And getting into, branding and glamour. And I've always done maternity boudoir, but this year we're working more into fine art maternity as well. But just opening up that spectrum is actually because I know that not every woman is at the point where they're like, I'm super excited to take off all my clothes and get pictures done. Like, not everyone is there. So glamour, branding, and maternity are really just opening up that spectrum so that every single woman has the opportunity to have this experience where she is just focused on herself. The day is all about her, and she gets to just explore all of that freedom to be just who she is and then see the beautiful person that everyone else sees when they look at her. So now it's been, 8 years of doing this. I never stopped loving it as much as I did the day before. I love the transformation. Specifically, running a business is never easy, naturally. But the transformation never gets old. And when I have clients come back to me years later saying, I did my shoot, it was the most amazing thing I did, but it was really amazing. I went home, I changed my life. I applied for the dream job I was never going to apply for. I left my abusive husband. I moved out on my own. I came out as gay. I am now living as the person that I've always wanted to be. I told my parents that I have all this trauma and really worked through it. I went to a therapist. Like, I see actual physical change in women's lives after they do this. And that's the part that I will never get tired of.
I love that. So that kind of goes into my next question is, how do you keep the love for your business and not burn yourself out? Like, just speaking into with like with other women entrepreneurs? Like, how does one do that?
Yeah, I think that we all struggle with that over the years. Like that's just so normal to struggle with. And it's definitely not that I don't get burnt out. And it's definitely not that I love my business as much as I did yesterday every single day. But it really is finding that in all of the business, if I put every piece of my business in a bowl and I just remind myself that this like shiny piece, which is the change that I'm making in the world, is the one that I focus on the most. Like if I put that in my little bowl and I have my shiny piece right in the middle, the shrine of the bowl, or the plate or whatever you want to call it, the wall hanging, really focusing in on like this is hard, this sucks so much, like having a business is not easy. There's so many ups and downs, but at the end of the day, none of my clients know how difficult it is to run a business. All they know is that I have changed their lives and things are better for them now, and they don't have to live this way, and they don't have to pass these unhappinesses and body hate and trauma and hurt down to the next generation. So when I see that little girl, perfect example is I have a client who had a daughter a couple years ago, and every day they get in the mirror and they sing a song about loving her body, and seeing this little girl being raised with all of the body love that she needs and all of the confidence that she needs, that's what makes it worth it. And that's why I keep coming back every year after year, even when I'm burnt out. I take the time. I try to do some things for me, finding some creative things to do for yourself that have no pressure on them at all. Like that really helps, especially if you're a creative. Creatives get burnt out a lot quicker than other businesses because we have to take the thing we love so much and turn it into money. And when you're doing that with something creative, creativity becomes a requirement instead of a freedom. So if I can find a way to free myself from that money part of it for even just multiple times a year, not every day, not every week, not even on a regular basis, but just a couple times a year, if I can tune into something that is completely for me, reset that creativity meter, and really just get out of the burnout, that helps a lot. But it really is focusing on the things that you're changing with all of the hard work that you're doing, because you're going to have a pain point either way. You don't get to go through life without some kind of pain point to work off of. So if your pain point is running a business and changing lives and making a difference in the world versus sitting at a desk working for someone else making no change, I will definitely take the pain point of having to figure out how to keep myself from burning out and getting tired of my business. Travel helps too. Travel helps a lot, getting away from just home and your business and not having so many things weighing down on you. I think the other one is probably imposter syndrome. A lot of times, imposter syndrome is our biggest enemy as a business owner, and imposter syndrome can burn you out so quickly if you are not cognizant of it. And I have found that the best way to deal with imposter syndrome is just to invite it to like sit with me. Like invite it like it's my friend to sit on the couch with me. I'm not going to run away with it. It's never going to stop bothering me. There's every time I do something new, it's always going to feel scary and it's always going to feel like I'm an imposter. So if I can just kind of invite that feeling in and be like, listen, I understand this is new. We've never done this before, but we've done many other things before that we've never done before. So why don't you just like join me over here? We'll sit together and we're going to do it. And if you can just kind of invite the uncomfortable feelings into your circle and get happy with them and comfortable with them and just welcome them instead of trying to push them away, that really helps with preventing burnout kind of altogether. Not on a completely 100% basis, but you will get burnt out a lot less and have a lot more capacity if you can just get uncomfortable with the uncomfortable, or get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely find that in year after year and client after client too. Like with burnout or imposter syndrome, it's so like we're conditioned to be this way, is to avoid that stuff, to avoid anything that's uncomfortable, anything we're scared of, anything we're afraid of, anything that's unknown. We're literally, our brains are wired to run away from that stuff because our brain wants to be comfortable. Our brain wants things to be easy. We want to know the future, right? So but like the caveat though is, in order to overcome those things, we actually have to look at them. And by looking at them, then our brain can kind of, because right now, without looking at them, by avoiding them, we kind of like put them on an altar. And it's like, oh my gosh, this thing is so crazy. It's running my life. But then when we can really like, okay, what's actually going on, what are my actual feelings, like what am I really thinking about this thing, and we can get more specific and dive deeper into it, it becomes less of this thing's on an altar and more of just like, oh, it's just a few thoughts that I have about this, and that's a normal thought to have. Like, of course, it's something new, or whatever that is. But by bringing it to light is definitely something that is more helpful in the long term, than not. So, okay, I'm curious. You kind of spoke into it a couple times, but tell us more about what it's like being a full time entrepreneur in a disabled body, in a body that maybe you wouldn't have picked for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, that's totally fair. It is the first thing I'm gonna say is it is a ride. Okay, it is an adventure. And that is okay. There are probably the negatives first, because it's kind of like just the first thing that you're always gonna have to deal with when you are in a disabled body. No matter how excited your brain is to do things, your body doesn't necessarily match the capacity that you have mentally. So, physically for me, it means that maybe I'm not shooting as many sessions as a lot of boudoir photographers would. For me, I only take about 50 clients a year. Where I'm 8 years into my career and celebrating 300 clients, because the first couple of years you're definitely not that at capacity. But I'm celebrating 300 clients this year versus there are other boudoir photographers who are probably celebrating 500, 600, 1,000 even. And that is just one of those things where when you do live in a disabled body, your health has to come first, because in order for your business to be sustained, you have to understand that your capacity just may not be the same as everybody else's. Someone else may be shooting 300 clients a year and they're perfectly fine with that and it's not a problem for them. But physically, for me, trying to make that happen would be so detrimental to my health that it's just not a possibility. So for me, being a disabled person running a business means that I really get to just permeate myself into every piece of the business so that for every client that I am serving, they are getting 100% of my love, attention, care, and creativity and creation. I touch personally every piece of every project I do. This is not something where if you are in a disabled body, you may not be able to be taking on a lot of employees. You cannot necessarily put yourself in charge of someone else's livelihood on a regular basis. Some people can, and that's totally, I like, seriously, I'm so excited for them. But for me, a month of really hard work with a lot of clients might lead to me ending up in the hospital. And it just did, actually. Back last year in October, I had an amazing month. I had so much fun. I loved it. I shot tons and tons of clients. I was shooting about every 2 to 3 days, and my sessions are all day for about 6 to 8 hours. So we provide a full experience with everything included. These are huge days for me, and typically I spend the next day or two in bed, being rated on like a little princess. So when I had my October month, it was so much fun and I loved it. But unfortunately, it ended up leading to a septic infection, and I was in the hospital for a week and then off for about a month and a half. So when you are a disabled person running a business and living in a disabled body, you really have to take account of your body and listen to your body a little bit more than some entrepreneurs may need to if you have a perfectly abled body, you can hustle and you can really be in that hustle culture and hustle, hustle, hustle as much as you want. And you should absolutely listen to your body too. There's no doubt that every single person should be listening to their body, but disabled bodies sometimes are a little bit quieter about it. They may be desensitized. I don't necessarily have all of the same signals that everybody else does. So sometimes I don't know that I have pushed myself beyond my limits until I'm way past my limits and have nothing left. So for me, it's really meant to get intimate with my body and understand what it wants and needs from me, try to take on less and give more. So when I'm taking, even though I'm taking on less clients, I'm giving them as much of me as I can, hand touching every single piece of the process. And also knowing that that means tweaking the way I do things. It means days in bed sometimes to recover. It means being really transparent about your disability. I tried to hide it for quite a few years and just pretend that I wasn't disabled to my clients. And that was actually a huge disservice to me and my body in general. So it means being really honest with your clients and honest with yourself, knowing your capacity and honoring that capacity on a really, really important, like 100% level. Because whenever you decide not to and try to take back a little bit of that and just stop listening to your body for 5 minutes, there's a very big difference between someone that has a fully abled normal body and someone who is disabled, not listening to their body and getting past that point. But you know what? I wouldn't change it, honestly, because having the perspective that I do is such an asset to my clients. I am able to intimately understand clients who have gone through trauma. I am able to intimately understand various mobility issues. When I do have clients come to me who are also disabled, I have a lot of clients that come to me with various disabilities and they say, you know, I picked you because I knew that you would understand. You would be the one that would completely understand, meet me where I am, not push me, not make it hard for me. And so when I get to work with those clients, it's even more validating because it's just like they know they're not alone, and so do I. So I would say it's been an absolute asset for me personally, and I wouldn't go back and change it, but it does require a little more fragile, handle with caution type type systems, and help. I have probably more help than some people would necessarily go ahead and have for a session day. I have an assistant every time I have a session because for me, extra steps are extra steps that are not needed. And I have a rolly chair that rolls around my studio to keep me off my feet too much. But yeah, if you learn to just like love yourself where you are and embrace your disability and understand that you don't have to join hustle culture just because everyone else is, and that your empire can look very different. Someone who is in a fully abled body may be ready to build a castle brick by brick, but that's not necessarily what my empire looks like. My empire looks like a peaceful life out in the country with my 5 cats and my barn dominium backed up to a forest. It doesn't necessarily mean millions of dollars a year with my business and hundreds of clients. And going ahead and accepting that and finding the joy and the love in that will really make all of the difference when you're running a business.
So looking at you, you look like a normal human, right? You got pink
Definitely.
hair, gotta love that. So you know there's a little twang to there. Sure. But no. So like, can you speak into what it's like? And I know this is getting very personal, but like what specifically are your disabilities? I mean, I personally know them, but like to everyone else, because like from an outsider, like looking in, you might just assume people are, oh, they're normal people, like normal looking person, nothing's wrong with them, they're just being crabby or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So can you speak into like, I guess, non-visual looking disabled
Yes.
people?
These are called invisible disabilities. And you would
Mm.
be shocked how many people you look at around you who have invisible disabilities. There are hundreds and hundreds of disabilities on the invisible disability list. I can only speak to mine, but even people with the exact same diagnosis have completely different lives. So for me, like I said earlier, I was classically trained. I went to university for 4 years. I got 3 degrees in 4 years. I was a completely normal person. I was taking 25 credit hours a semester and totally a normal human. I had all of the capacity that a regular person does. So I know exactly what that life is like. I lived that life. I did not know that I had any disabilities until I turned 20. And when I turned 20, my dad passed away from the exact same disease that I was diagnosed with about 6 months later. And so after he passed, I ended up getting really, really sick over and over and over again, just could not get better. And it resulted in finding out that I had kidney failure. So I went into the hospital as a person who had, I had mono at that point, mononucleosis, I think they call it the kissing disease or whatever. So, I went in thinking like, oh, I just have a really bad like respiratory unpleasantness. And they walked in after taking some blood and they said, congratulations, you have 0 kidneys. Thanks for coming. I was like, okay, cool. So what are we going to do about that? And they're like, well, we're going to run a ton of tests. And it turned out that my dad also had 2 kidney transplants in his life, and he had passed away from kidney disease as he was waiting on his 3rd transplant. For me, what ended up happening was they never knew that his kidney disease was genetic. They thought it was an accident as he was a fireman and had fallen through a roof. They thought it was trauma, like physical trauma to his kidneys. But it turns out it is actually a genetic autoimmune disease that kills my kidneys. So it kills your kidneys over about 20 years. It's completely invisible. You would never know that you have it until they're like basically failing. They call kidneys the silent killers. So if you're listening to this podcast, go get your kidneys checked, please. But one day I just woke up and I was now someone who needed an organ transplant. That was yesterday. I didn't need one, but today I did. And so that changed my entire trajectory of my life. I was going to be a doctor and I was going to, funny enough, be a nephrologist and work with kidneys based on the fact that my dad had always been sick with kidney disease. So, but then I woke up and it was me who needed a kidney now. And what that means for a 20-year-old is completely different than what that means for a 60 or 70-year-old who is the typical dialysis patient. I was freshly 20, still in school, and I had to go on tons of steroids to really just keep my kidneys working for as long as possible. And then I did eventually have to go on dialysis. And dialysis is a federally recognized disability that I actually was not able to work. I was on dialysis for 9 hours a day. It is essentially life support. And it is very unpleasant, especially as a freshly 20-year-old still in school. But I finished school. I was actually in school for an entire year on dialysis. It's a feat that if you know anything about dialysis, my people are like, you did what? And I'm like, yes, I finished 3 degrees on dialysis. So, but it's completely invisible. So at that point, I could walk out into the world and no one would have a clue that I had no kidneys and that I was on life support every single night. When I parked in the handicapped spots, I would get the nasty looks. I would get the notes on my car. You're not disabled. Put your car elsewhere. Leave this for actual disabled people. You would be surprised how many people walk around with these invisible disabilities. So, and once you get one autoimmune disease, unfortunately, they love to come in groups. They come together. And so since then, I'm 31 now. And over the time, I was on dialysis for 2 years. I did eventually get my kidney transplant. It was the best thing ever. I got my, second chance at life, and sooner or later, I will need to get another one just based on the fact that this is the way that my disease works. I will have about 20-ish years with my kidneys before I'll need another transplant. And as of right now, I've had it for 8 years, and things are pretty normal there. But I have a disease called IgA nephropathy, which attacks the filters in your body. So my kidneys, my lungs, anything that's kind of in charge of filtering something will be attacked by this disease. And then in addition to that, it also attacks your immune system too. So I now have celiac disease, which is fun. I am on a completely gluten-free diet. I cannot eat even a tiny crumb of bread. It's a very interesting lifestyle, but we've adjusted. And probably the disability that is the most invisible but the most impactful is actually Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And if you don't know anything about that, it is a connective tissue disorder where the connective tissues in my body just do not work. They don't keep the things where they're supposed to stay. Things pop out of place and go on their own adventure elsewhere. So I use mobility aids when we go and I need to take long walks. I'm typically in a wheelchair or on a scooter. I'm the girl at the store who is on the scooter, and you're like, she doesn't need a scooter. She's perfectly fine. Like, that's great. If you want to sit in bed with me later while I cry, then feel free to judge, Brenda. But um, otherwise, I'm going to ride my scooter if that's cool with you. But yeah, at this point, I've got the kidney issues that will come back at some point, but I'm living my best life. Ehlers-Danlos is definitely a daily thing. The celiac is a daily thing, but it doesn't really affect me too much as long as I can avoid gluten for the most part. And then, of course, all of us women who were the overachieving high earners, when we were younger, all of us are now being diagnosed with ADHD and autism. So add me to the list. I got diagnosed with ADHD and autism in 2021. So I am 2 years, I guess, going into my third year of that. And it's such freedom not having to feel like I am crazy and stupid. Just knowing that I'm just different. Really working with that has been a big game changer for me. But when you are walking out on the street, there are just so many people that you would be surprised have completely invisible disabilities that you'd never know about. And for some people, it means mobility aids. For some people, it means, service dogs. For some people, it means meds. For me, I'm on a lot of medicines, of course. But just be kind, because I may look completely normal and I did my makeup today and I'm in a great mood and I'm having a good day. But today doesn't mean that yesterday I wasn't like laying in bed crying, because that's how chronic pain works. And you don't really get to decide which days are your good and bad days. So I'm thankful for every good day that I get, and I'm also thankful for the bad days, because I'm still here on the bad days. And there was a time when it wasn't 100% guaranteed that I would be here for those bad days.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I think you really spoken to that beautifully, because I feel like as someone who has a non-disabled body, like it's like you're conditioned almost to be like, well, unless they're like limping and have a crutch, like nothing's wrong with them, right? And
Yeah.
so it's really I think you've spoken to it beautifully about how like we really don't know other people's stories, right? And I think at the end of the day, like I always like to think you at the end of the day, you don't know what's going on in someone else's life, right? On a
Yeah.
stranger's life. So my rule of thumb, it's like the golden rule, treat others like how you want to be treated, right?
Yeah.
Is, don't be an asshole. Simple as that. Right?
Yeah. And you know what? I think like one of the biggest things that's really changed for me is having people like you in my life, as opposed to people who judge, because it's so easy to judge. We're brought up to do that. And I've been in the store, like there was it was actually hilarious. Probably like I can't even tell you how long ago it was, because fun, like one of the fun like gifts that keeps on giving is I was on chemotherapy for a while to try to see if that would help my kidneys. But I remember way back, I had a friend and we were in Target at Black Friday, and you know what Target looks like at Black Friday. Like you're standing in the
Mhm.
line that's all the way around the store and then out into the city somewhere. And we're just standing, and they actually, my two friends, my best friend and my boyfriend at the time, they went and got me one of the kitty carts, because like I was I was on dialysis at that point, and dialysis is really draining. Like it is very difficult to be on. And so they went and got me one of the kitty carts, and I was literally sitting on the kitty cart while we were going in line, and they were pushing me in line. And this lady behind us, this, the exact woman you think of with the "I want to speak to your manager" haircut. She says, you really don't need that. You should have left that for the kids. This is ridiculous. Act like an adult. There's nothing wrong with you. And my boyfriend at the time, Aaron, he turned around and he goes, she doesn't have any kidneys. Would you like to donate one? And this woman was like,
Oh my gosh.
and like she just completely shut up because you really don't know. You just have no idea what someone else's life looks like. And yeah, I might be I was probably like 20 at the time. No, I probably 18 actually. Like I don't even know. It's a great question. It's really bad. I literally have like blackouts in my mind that just don't exist anymore. But I had to have been 20 because I met my husband at like later in my 20s, and this was my boyfriend right before my husband.
Mhm.
But anyways, like this woman just like looked at me. She made a complete judgment. She decided that she knew what my life was like. I was wasting this, super important cart at 2 a.m. that a child would have needed at 2 a.m. on Black Friday, and just made a snap judgment. So when you're looking at people, just like take 5 seconds and ask them a question. Like I would rather she had said like, hey, do you really need that cart? Like the kids might need that, or hey, is it really appropriate for you to be using that as an adult? Like I would have approached that with so much humility. Like, thank you so much for asking. Like just ask and be kind to people because it's already hard enough to live in a body that is like this, but it's even harder when it looks completely normal.
Mm. So you kind of spoke into like how being in a disabled body impacts your business. But for those that are in a similar situation that you are in, what are some tricks that you do to have a successful day um, in a disabled body?
Yeah, I think like not judging myself on the days when I just don't have it is probably the biggest one because I don't get to decide how I wake up in the morning. So, aside from like something that's already planned, scheduled, and on the calendar, I really just do more of like prioritizing the things that I need to get done that week. I have this really awesome friend who's a coach, and she taught me the power of Monday hour one. I just call it hour one
Mhm.
because I do it whenever I'm at the first
Yep.
hour. But I actually write down my priorities for the week. And instead of saying, like, I'm going to work from 11 to 1 on Monday doing editing, like, that's not how that
Mhm.
works. This week, these are the things that I need to get done. And those move around the calendar as the week goes. Because if I wake up on Monday and I need to stay in bed on Monday, if I don't stay in bed on Monday, Tuesday is going to be much worse for me. And now we're not getting anything done on Monday or Tuesday. So instead, I've
Mhm.
learned to really just go with the flow of what my body says. I have a desk for in my bed. I actually work from bed sometimes because there's no rules. That's like the biggest one. There's no rules in life. They're completely made up,
Mhm.
100% made up. Work is not necessarily from 9 to 5. And I don't have to drive into the studio every day to work just because it's an office if I don't want to. I don't even have to get up out of my bed to go work at my desk if I don't want to. There are no rules. So
Mhm.
making it so that my work life is super flexible and can move with me has made a huge difference in making my life easier. Not judging myself on those bad days and just saying like there are many days where I'll just say like what's burning down the house today. That's all that needs to get done. If it's burning down the house, the symbolic house,
Mhm.
not the real house, but if it's burning down the house today, like I'm going to try to get that done. But if it's not burning down the house and today is not the day, then there's no point in judging myself on it because when I don't listen to my body and I just push against it, I end up so much more sick and so worse off. So taking those days of downtime and actually scheduling them in too. Like I will schedule a day where today I'm doing absolutely nothing. Today I am laying in bed. Maybe I'm reading a book. Like I'm not just going to loaf around, but today's the day I'm reading a book or I'm playing I'm a cozy video gamer. So I'll play my video game today, or maybe today I'm just allowing my brain to brainstorm. Maybe today's the day that I'm laying in bed just writing down ideas, but not judging myself, scheduling in those rest days. And if you have any sort of like nutritional guidance that you can get, we have, I'm sure our friend Kim will be on the podcast at some point. But knowing what diet helps you best is really important. For me, I have learned that eating a lot of fats and eating a lot of sugars, my body doesn't like them. It doesn't make me feel very good. So while the holidays was filled with cookies because my family made me gluten-free cookies for like the first time I've had cookies in a while for Christmas. That's not something that I'm typically eating on a daily basis. I have to be more careful with what I eat. I can't just shove things in my body and hope for the best. Nobody really should be doing that, but it's especially more difficult when you are essentially working off of a scale of how much you have in the day. And there is this thing, we call it the spoon theory, if you've ever heard of it. Some people call it the carnival ticket theory as well, if you're more neurospicy. But the spoon theory at its base is that a disabled person typically wakes up with a certain amount of spoonfuls of energy. And the amount of spoons that you have available for the day is all you get. You cannot get more. Taking a nap is not going to get you more because you have now hit your pain wall. So I have learned to really just go with my spoons. And if I have 5 spoons for the day, or 5 carnival tickets, as some people call them, mine are more carnival tickets because they're like labeled, like you can't use this ticket to get on that ride. So I may have an editing ticket today and a dishes ticket today and a sending out emails ticket today. And once those tickets are gone, they're used up. So learning to kind of like read my energy and go with it instead of against it has made a huge difference in making my life a lot easier.
So we spoke into it a little bit. You talk a lot about self-love, self-acceptance and everything. But what is self-love? What does it look like?
Ooh, I love this question. Self-love. Okay, so self-love, I actually like to tell you that self-love looks like the love that you give to everybody else, but giving it to yourself. Because when I love someone, typically I give them grace, I give them patience, I give them acceptance of who they are and how they function and what they're doing. I give them no judgment. I give them love. I love that other person as they are, for who they are, without conditions, without requirements, a true kind of love. If you're not truly loving someone else, then that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about truly loving someone else, giving them the best of you, patience, love, kindness, genuine, authenticity, the authentic entrepreneur, authenticity, honesty, kindness, all of the things that you give to other people, you're giving that to yourself. It's for you too. It's not just for everybody who's not you. So self-love looks like, if my husband is having a bad day and he feels really sick, I'm going to give him soup. I'm going to give him water. I'm going to say, stay in bed and don't worry about the chores for the day. I'm going to give him love. And the problem that a lot of people have is that when I'm sick, I'm not going to give myself soup. I'm not going to give myself water. I'm not going to stay in bed. I'm going to just keep doing everything because I don't love myself enough to think that I deserve to be treated the same way that I treat other people. I give other people that love and then I hold it against myself and say, you can't have that because you didn't get enough done today. Like, you don't need soup, you're fine. You're not even hungry. Like, we constantly forget to feed ourselves, water ourselves, we're not watering our plant. So self-love is really taking the example of the love that you give to other people and giving it to yourself and accepting yourself for who you actually are. And acceptance doesn't mean like, oh, I'm ADHD, so that means that I need to change the way that I do things and I just need to learn to fit in with everybody else. Like, no, it means understanding that this is who I am and the way that my brain works, and I'm going to accept that and I'm going to work with myself instead of against myself. I'm not going to sit there at home and shame myself because I didn't get something done. It doesn't look like, oh, I didn't get the dishes done today, so I'm going to sit in a chair and say, you suck, you're the worst. Why didn't you get this done? It's not that hard. I'm just going to say, you know what? The dishes aren't burning down the house, right? I'm not, they're just in the sink. Like, it's fine. I'll get them done tomorrow. I don't deserve to be an absolute asshole to myself just because I didn't get something done. Because if I wouldn't be an asshole to my husband for not getting it done because I love him and I understand that he's a human and I would give him grace, then why wouldn't I give myself the same kind of grace and love? So it's really a lack of, I actually posted a reel back in January about the things that were in and out for the year. And it was, like the things that are in is loving myself, accepting myself, setting boundaries and holding them, and just being me and being okay with that. And the things that are out are all of the things that are not self love, self judgment, self sabotage, self sacrifice, people pleasing. These things are not loving yourself. They're giving yourself up in order to love other people. And if you are trying to love other people through hating yourself, you're not really loving them either, because you then don't really know what love looks like. So learning what love actually looks like when you're loving someone else, that poem in the Bible, love is patient, love is kind, love does not boast, the actual definition of love that you give other people, and then turning that around and giving it to yourself. That's what self-love really is at its core for me.
That was some juicy stuff right there. I think that's gonna get turned into an Instagram reel. I love it. Okay, so kind of going into a different pivot, but I guess on the same note is, why can body positivity be challenging?
Ooh, body positivity can be challenging really because it is actually something that we're conditioned to. You're not
Mm.
born with body hate. You're actually born with body love. Babies cry because they know they're hungry. Babies cry because they know they need changed. Babies cry because they know they're thirsty. Babies cry because they know they're tired. They are intimately in tune with their bodies and they know what their body needs, because while they can't emotionally love their body the way that, a cognizant adult human would, babies are not born with body hate. They don't deprive themselves of the things that they need. They will scream and let you know exactly what they need until you give it to them. Because, babies are, people like to say babies are selfish. No, babies know what they need and they are not willing to compromise on it. But for some reason along the way, society conditions us to this idea that we should be willing to compromise on it. We should be willing to compromise on the things that we need, the things that we want, the things that we desire, the way that we want to live, the way that we look. We should be willing to compromise on these things in order for someone else to be able to visually look at our body and decide that it's acceptable, good enough. And as we are conditioned with this idea that your body should look a certain way, you should act a certain way, you should achieve a certain way, you should have certain things. All of these things are conditioned into us as we grow up. Specifically, like moms out there, I understand that it is not easy for you either, but you are the one that directly passes down your body love or body hate to your child. They learn it from you. You are the first person to condition them. And if you do not decondition them from what society will then try to condition them with, this is why kids grow up and have body hate, because body positivity is challenging because it's not beneficial for society. Body positivity means that you're not going to go with the norm. You're not going to buy the $75 million that is put into the fitness industry every single year. You're not going to buy the trendiest thing in order to impress everybody around you. You're not going to compromise what you need for someone else's happiness. Body positivity really at its core is challenging because it is going against the conditioning that society teaches you in order to benefit the people who make money off of you and the people who benefit off of you sacrificing yourself. They want us to compromise, proverbial they want us to compromise, because if we are willing to compromise, then unlike babies who are selfish and are not willing to compromise, we will sacrifice ourselves and give up what we need in order for someone else to get what they want, whether it's happiness, joy, money, achievements, power, status, whatever it is that they want. If you're willing to compromise on what you need for their benefit, that's what they want out of people. And when we are not willing to compromise on that and we say, no, this is what I need, this is the way my body looks, I am happy with who I am, I am healthy, I am happy, I am at peace, I don't need you, and I don't need to compromise myself for you. That's why it's so challenging, because it is completely against what society in general wants from people in order for society to run the way that it always has. And if we are not willing to compromise, then we go against that. And everybody's thing that they always cite is like health, health. Fat people aren't healthy. And that's why we're so obsessed with making sure that fat people are skinny because they're not healthy. Listen, there are people out there who are in the category of higher weights who are not healthy. There are also people who are 90 pounds and are not healthy. There and at the root of all of it, it's none of your damn business anyways, Brenda. Like, it's not about you. That's a doctor's job. So, people use it they hide behind health, they hide behind happiness. Well, you'll be happy if you're skinny. You'll be happy if you cut your hair and get Botox and do plastic surgery. And I'm here for all of those things. If that's what makes you happy as a person, if plastic surgery is for you, if Botox is for you, if makeup is for you, getting your nails done, going to the gym, if it's for you, by you and for you, it's for me, I decided to do it. Like, I'm here for that. I will say, as a boudoir photographer, I had plastic surgery. I had a breast reduction done because that was what I needed for me. But it wasn't for someone else. It was for me. And at the end of the day, that's really what body positivity is tapping into what you need for yourself and what's going to make you happy, whether it's with your physical body, your mental health, or any of that, and just not compromising, not being willing to compromise for someone else's benefit. But know when you do this and when you tap into this, people will not like it. They don't like when you take away your willingness to compromise and they stop benefiting from it. So just be aware that when you take this on, it is not an easy journey, but it is a journey that is so worth it.
Yeah. I feel like as you kept speaking, I think a lot of it comes down to authenticity, right? Living in your aligned self. Because I feel like so often, and truthfully, like there's no judgment around it, but we're conditioned to like value certain things in life, right? Like we're conditioned to strive for particular things in life, and we have to kind of take a step back and ask ourselves is like, okay, well, just because I was told to value this particular thing, is that feel aligned with me? Like, do I actually care about this? Does it feel good to me when I bring this on as my own identity? And I think that really helps. And truthfully, like, I think you can always find, like, I know something that you always speak into is like, there doesn't have to be this body positivity, like, oh my God, I love my body right this second. You can always start with, I have a body, right? Body
Yeah.
neutrality.
Body
So
neutrality
I
is
don't,
like an in-between step, kind of.
Mhm.
Body neutrality it's really those first stages when you kind of like take back the willingness to compromise. And instead of saying like, I'm going to change my body for someone else or for someone else's benefit or for them to make money or for them to accept me, or whenever we are in the body hate stage, it's not really typically for us. We think it is, like we say it's for us, but when you really go evolutionarily to like bringing in that psychology, when you really go to the evolutionary way that your body is built, your body is not built to destroy itself, to hate itself, to starve itself. These are not the things that your body is built for. Your body is built to survive. Your brain is built to force your body to survive by getting the things that it needs. So when you are depriving yourself of things and you're saying that it's for you, it's really not for you, because if it was for you, you would be doing the things you need for your body to actually survive. The only job that your body and your brain has is to live. That's it. That's the only like purpose of your body is to live. All of the functions that it has is to keep you alive. So, and typically the things that the beauty and fitness and pretend health industry, all of these very vain industries are typically telling you to do things that are not actually for your survival. Going under elective surgery, not really for your survival. Doing fillers and plastic things and starving yourself and not drinking and working out to the point where you're exhausting your body. These things are not for your survival. There's a balance of all of those, many of those things, not all of those things, but there's a balance of those things. Eating, drinking, exercising, all of those things are for your survival. But typically when we're in this body hate, we're doing them at an extreme point where it's not for our survival and it's not natural. Hating your body is not natural. So it's learned. And body neutrality is really the first step when you decide, instead of hating my body, I'm just going to allow it to live. I'm just going to accept that I have one, allow it to live, give it the things it asks me for to live, and stop judging it. That's it. Like when I look in the mirror, body hate is I hate my body. I'm so ugly. I'm so fat. I shouldn't eat today. And the next step, the bridge step, as I call it, the bridge thought, instead of I hate my body, it's I have a body. My body is here. Today, I am looking at it. I have arms. I have a belly. I have feet. I have extra. If I feel that it's extra, I have extra. That's fine. I have it. It exists. I have a body. Today, my body is hungry. I will eat. Today, my body is thirsty. I will eat. Today, my body feels good. I could go for a walk. Today, my body doesn't feel good. I'm not going for a walk. Neutral is I have a body and I'm going to allow it to live. And then you move from there eventually. And some people, it is a fact, some people will never move over into body love. Because if you are not doing the healing journey that you need mentally, it does not matter what you do with your body physically. You could work out, eat healthy, lose 100 pounds. And if you're doing none of the mental healing work, you will never cross from body neutrality, I have a body, I'm going to let it live, to positivity and body love, which is I love my body. It is a beautiful body. I am happy I have this body. I am thankful for this body. I love, and everybody has their different things. For me, I love my hair. I love my eyes. I love my cheeks. I love, there's many things that I love about myself, but I have to get from neutrality to positivity / body love. And not everybody's going to get there, because if you're not willing to really dig into the mental work of this, you're never going to cross from neutrality to positivity. But that's okay too. You don't have to judge that, because neutrality is still a better, more positive spot than body hate. And you can survive on that and allow your body to just live and still be happy. But obviously the goal would be for everyone to really get into like actually loving themselves, because that's when you live your best life. You can live a life, a happy life at neutrality, but that life will always be neutral, as opposed to you could live a life with body love, and that life will be your best life.
I love it. I love it. So what should people look for in a boudoir photographer?
Ooh, okay. The number one, the most important is a person that you trust. I don't care what their photos look like. I don't care what their studio looks like. I don't care how much they cost. I don't care where they're located. I have had clients that have flown from Hawaii to work with me, because boudoir is more about the person that you are working with than anything else. You have to find a person that you trust, a person that makes you feel safe, a person that you know you are safe with, and a person that when you walk out of that studio after your session, you don't feel worse about yourself. Boudoir comes with a lot of risks. the two top categories of risks that boudoir comes with: physical and mental. Physical, because this is a very vulnerable thing to do. You do not want someone that is going to put you at any risk. There have been boudoir photographers who have been responsible for unpleasant things that no one wants to talk about, because this is a very vulnerable position to put yourself in with someone, and you are giving someone that trust with your body, sometimes fully naked in front of them, and you want someone that you are going to be absolutely safe with. Your body is going to be safe. Your privacy is going to be safe. And then physically is probably the most risky, I guess, because it could lead to a lot of physical harm, but mentally just as important, because it is just as easy for you to walk out of a boudoir shoot feeling on top of the world, loving yourself, feeling confident, feeling like you had the best day. It's just as easy to walk out of there in the completely opposite direction. The wrong person can show you things about your body that you did not hate that you do now. Not my story. I'm thankful that for the most part, all of my experiences have been great, but I had a friend who did a boudoir shoot, and one of the reasons that she actually really got into boudoir more, she was a photographer already, but she ended up jumping more into boudoir because she went to a photographer. She is a plus size woman, and the photographer gave her nothing but headshots. That was all she received, because the photographer projected her insecurities onto my friend, and her photos showed her that the rest of her body was not worthy of being photographed. And so she walked out of that studio feeling worse about herself than when she had walked in, because she actually didn't have a lot of insecurities about her weight. She grew up in a house where weight wasn't as big of a deal. Her mom wasn't focused on that. Like I said, moms, you pass down your insecurities directly. She grew up in a household where that wasn't really an issue, so she didn't have a lot of weight self-consciousness, but she walked out of that shoot with more insecurities than she walked in with. So number one, I will literally preach this till the cows come home: find the right person. And if they are expensive, save up for it. I promise it'll be the best thing you ever do for yourself. But if you find the wrong person, it may be one of the worst things you ever do for yourself. So find the right person. Number two, look at their portfolio. If they don't have every size, shape, color, sexuality of women and couples in their portfolio, do not work with them. If they only have my biggest pet peeve about the boudoir industry is that there are so many photographers' pages where I just go and it is nothing but skinny white women. And there is nothing wrong with a beautiful skinny white woman. That's not the problem here. But she's not the only woman that exists in the world, and she's not the only woman that is worthy of being photographed. So when you're looking at someone's portfolio, if they don't have a woman where you're like, oh, she looks like me. If you can't find that woman in their portfolio, or someone who's very similar in various different ways, she may not be exactly you, but if you can't find yourself or someone similar to you represented in their portfolio, do not hire them. Because I can't tell you how many questions a year there are in our boudoir photographer groups where people are like, how do you shoot plus size women? And all of us who do shoot plus size women are like everybody else that you shoot? You like a person? Because it is one of those things where it is so underrepresented in the industry that people feel like they actually have to ask. They're like, how do you shoot this kind of person? It's like, if you work with all bodies, you know how to work with these people. You know how to find everybody's best angles and everybody's best light, because it's not about their body. It's about their confidence. It's about instilling the confidence into the person that you're working with and making them feel comfortable. So when you're looking at a person, you're looking at the person, you're looking at their portfolio. And third, honestly, I don't think that location matters at all. Fly to whoever you love. Pricing is important though, because if you are not getting someone who is a real professional in the boudoir industry, then you could be putting yourself back into number one. Boudoir is not a cheap it is not a cheap hobby, as people like to call artists. Boudoir is not a cheap hobby. It is extremely expensive. All of the things that you need for it, the contracts that I have to hold, the legalities that I have to hold, have a lawyer on tap. It's not a cheap hobby. So if you're going to someone who's charging $300 for everything, you should be asking why. it's very expensive for anyone to walk in my door. The moment that someone walks in my door, it costs me no less than $300 to $400 just for them to physically walk in the door. And that doesn't include any of the things that someone pays as a business for, all of our subscriptions and costs and my studio. And just physically for someone to walk in the door, it costs me $300 to $400. So if you're looking at someone who includes hair and makeup and wardrobe and a studio and all of the photos and everything for $300, I really, really, truly tell you to look at why and ask if you're safe there. And if you are, and someone just happens to be charging that, but also providing a great experience, and they're a trustworthy photographer with lots of reviews, like, go for it. That's amazing. But if you didn't do any research at all, you don't know if this person is safe, and you haven't really done all of the digging in to find if why they're charging this low of a price, then you're putting yourself at risk. So person, pricing, portfolio, those are really the most important things. The work doesn't have to be on any sort of spectrum. All styles are beautiful. Just kind of what style fits you best. Me, I'm very bold and colorful. I am kind of in the middle spectrum of light and airy to dark and moody. I'm really right in the middle, kind of true to color and true to life. I am very much a personal style. So my studio is more minimalistic, as I really, really focus on the body and the person in front of me. Typically, my favorite compliment that I get from clients when they book me is, I always ask, why did you book me? And my favorite ones always have something to do with a wording of, I saw your pictures and I felt like I knew the woman in the photo because her personality was captured so perfectly. Or I saw all of your photos and it looks like the subject's best friend took them. I saw your photos and I felt like you would be a person who I could instantly trust. Like, I love that when I get complimented on my work, it's always about the fact that I intimately meet people where they are. I really truly get to know them even in a very short amount of time, and I capture the true essence of their soul in pixels and then eventually in print. So when you're picking your photographer, really just get to know them and go through all the research that you can, go through all of the information that you can find, and trust your gut there, because if your gut is saying there's something wrong, you don't want to put yourself at any risk. But yeah, location, style, studio, none of that really matters as much as the person, the portfolio, and ultimately the pricing, based on the fact that it is a little better to go with someone that you can trust and is providing a professional, legit experience.
So, like, big picture, like,
Yeah.
very big bullet point pictures. Tell us a day in the life of one of your clients, like the experiences.
Ooh.
Just big picture.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say that a day in the life of my clients is a day where you get to book something for yourself and not have to plan it. Because what do we do whenever we book something? I got to figure out what I'm going to wear. I got to figure out how I'm going to do my makeup. I got to figure out how I'm going to get there. I got to make all the planning, make all the trips. Like, typically when you book something for yourself, whether it's a trip or an experience or anything of that sort, you have a to-do list. There's always a to-do list, and we take away the to-do list. There is no to-do list. I call them the 3 S's essentially: shave, shower, and show up. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. And if you don't shave, that's fine too. Whatever your grooming habits are, yours to decide. But they come in the morning, we do wardrobe, we pick out all of their outfits. I have a huge client closet that everybody picks from. So nobody has to bring their own wardrobe if they don't want. They just bring some thongs for underneath my closet and we take care of the rest. They do hair and makeup. They get pampered and get to be feeling fabulous like a celebrity. We feed them because everybody's always hungry, and I'm going to feed you a pretzel before I turn you into a pretzel. So we're going to feed you, and then everybody's in their session. And I always say that, like, sessions with me are like mixing dancing around the kitchen in your underwear singing and a photo shoot. It's like the same thing. You're going to be dancing around, having fun, singing. The girls in the studio will feel like they've been your best friends for years. And when you're done with your photo shoot, everybody sees their photos the same day, which is like everybody's favorite part. You get to see them like right after your session. And you just go home to take a nap and a bath, and we take care of getting all of your artwork ready. But when you're done with that day, you didn't have to feel all of this stress of trying to get everything ready. You just got to have a day to be yourself, tune into yourself, unplug from the world, not care about anybody else, but just being yourself, being pampered, relaxing, and having fun. And then when you're done, you take home your album, wall art, box, book, whatever it is that your artwork happens to be, and you get to cherish that for years to come. And when women open their books, that you're taken right back to that feeling, because a photo is really, I heard this recently, a photo is a passport to a memory. And so when you're looking through all of those photos, you're feeling all those same feelings. And so when you're having that bad day, you're looking back on the day of your session and you're remembering, like, oh yeah, I am a badass. I'm amazing. I just forgot this morning. So that's kind of what it looks like as a day in the life of my client. You get to be a princess for the day, a queen, if you will. And we do also work with princesses for mother-daughter glamours. But it's really just about being yourself, not being judged, having fun, no to-do list, and having a transformational experience.
I love it. I love it. I feel like we could just keep talking for all the days. So, last question. What
Yeah.
advice would you give to other women entrepreneurs to living their most authentic selves?
I think the best way to live your most authentic self is to actually know yourself, because typically we are not as self-aware as we think we are, as we are conditioned with all of these insecurities and self-doubts, and we don't actually really get to know ourselves. We only get to know the self that we put out to other people. So one of the best things that I ever did for myself was really just tuning out of all of the people around me and tuning into myself. And I don't mean for one day in a boudoir studio. I mean really tuning into myself and tuning out of the people around me, stopping the people pleasing, stopping the pretending, and getting to know myself on an intimate level, because you can't be yourself and live your authentic life if you don't even know who you are. So get to know yourself. And once you get to know yourself, don't judge who you are. Neutrality is the first step if you need it. And then acceptance, neutrality, and then positivity and love. So get to know yourself, accept yourself very radically, and then start living as who you are. Because if you're living as who you are, the people who are for you will just be gravitated to you like a magnet, and the people who are not will be pushed away like the polar opposite of the magnet. And that is for your best life. It's for your best purpose. When the people around you accept you and you intimately know who you are and you live that way without judgment of yourself, you'll be so much happier and authentic as an entrepreneur.
That's awesome. I love that advice. So where can people find you? How can they learn more about Blush Bloom Boudoir and Cleveland Glamour, and maybe working with you if they thought you were cool beans?
I am definitely super cool beans. So you can find me naturally, of course, my website. My website is blushbloomboudoir.com. We are building a second website for Cleveland Glamour this year, and that one's just clevelandglamour.com. And that one's a little bit a work in progress still, but either way, Blush Bloom Boudoir or clevelandglamour.com. And then Instagram, same, Blush Bloom Boudoir, Instagram at Blush Bloom Boudoir, and Instagram at Cleveland Glamour. And both of those have my campsite bio link on it to find all of my fabulous shenanigans. And then on Facebook, you can always search me as Cassie Trebar if you want to friend me and say hey. But you'll also see me in the Beauty Boost, and you'll see me in Working Women Connection. I love to connect with other entrepreneurs, and we have even more intimately involved with me. We do self-care events at our studio every single month. So we still have over half a year left of events every single month. So join us for a women's event. You'll find those on my Instagram and on my website. And feel free to just shoot me a message on any of my social medias, and I'd love to connect.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all your beautiful wisdom with everyone today. I feel like there's so much to learn in all these juicy nuggets. So I really appreciate you being here today, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This was great.
All right, we'll catch you later.
It is offer time. I would like to just thank you guys for listening to me, give my little offer songs in many capacities. So I appreciate you hanging in there with that. But, in most exciting news, Cassie is offering a free self-discovery guide when you sign up for it. The link is in the description below. It will have the clicky click button to get access to that free self-discovery guide, which is a huge opportunity for you guys to try out. Additionally, not just one, we got two for here. She is offering the Authentic Entrepreneur Podcast listeners $200 off. $200, not one, $200 off a session you book with her. So when you are connecting with Cassie, you are interested in just being all in the sorts of self-empowerment, connecting with her, let her know you listened and found her on the Authentic Entrepreneur Podcast, and you will get $200 off your package, which is insane. So thank you guys, and thank you, Cassie. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Authentic Entrepreneur Podcast. I hope in between the words of this episode, you found more of your authentic self. It would mean the world to me if you, 1, like this episode if you learned something new, 2, share this episode with a friend who you think needs to hear this, and lastly, 3, to follow and subscribe to this podcast. I want to hang out with you more. Don't forget to tag me on Instagram, send me a DM, wave hi, whatever floats your boat, all at Sam Hardesty Coaching. That's at Sam Hardesty Coaching on Instagram. And hey, look at you go, learning new things, becoming more self-aware and shit. Absolutely crushing it, my friend. Thank you so much. I love you. And until next time, stay authentic.